Certainly can't remember when anyone else did either. Because really, since women stopped being able to have babies.
The Children of Men movie was released in 2006 and is often referred to as one of the best dystopian action thriller films ever. People loved the movie. However, many secrets are hidden from the public behind the scenes. Some of the secrets nearly led to the failure of the film. Do you want to find out what they are? Watch until the end as we unravel 20 weird facts about Children of Men. Number 20. Children of Men used futuristic world events.
Is for each member of the audience to come out with their own.
There have been many talks and comments about the film Children of Men. According to many, Children of Men extensively used future world events. Let's see what happened. From reports gathered, Children of Men draws from the concepts of growing military dominance and xenophobia in the United States. That's not all. The film combined these themes with the growing global threat of Islamic terrorism to create its dystopian world filled with fractured human relationships. From the movie's conception in 2001 to the eventual release near the end of 2006, Children of Men's production timeline encompasses several world events after the September 11th attacks on the Twin Towers. The post-9/11 period demonstrated a massive increase in military and defense expenditure from the United States of America that amounts to approximately $600 billion. Also, the Homeland Security Act immigration policies of the United States have increasingly strengthened to allow xenophobia to thrive. In response to these increased restrictions and xenophobic attitudes, the threat of Islamic terrorism, not nearly as prevalent in a pre-9/11 period, began to grow exponentially. It grew till around 28,000 Islamic terrorist attacks reported post-9/11, resulting in the loss of millions of lives. With these events revealed in the movie, Alfonso Cuarón emphasized the effect of these post-9/11 era themes. When asked in an interview, he shared that he wanted to create a future dystopian world in Children of Men that references current world events rather than imagining new high-tech scenarios. Number 19. Fake blood, real impact. Another interesting fact is that one of the best scenes in the movie was not planned. In fact, Alfonso nearly removed the scene but left it. One of the film's most incredible sequences is its almost 7-minute set piece in its third act. In that scene, Theo, Keep, her baby, and new ally Marichka are seen trying to avoid the chaos in the Bexhill refugee camp. It was a single-take scene, filled to the brim with tension, jaw-dropping action beats, and concluded in a sobering yet powerful manner. Surprisingly, the scene was almost cut because Alfonso spotted fake blood on the camera lens and yelled "cut" to redo the complex scene. Despite his scream, the scene was completed with the stain on the lens because no one could hear the director over the deafening gunshots and explosions. After the scene was done, Alfonso was hell-bent on removing it. However, the film's cinematographer, Emanuel Lubezki, convinced the director to keep the scene as it is. He later agreed, and it was the best decision ever. Also, some people believe that Alfonso's initial decision to cut the scene was very amusing because he had intended to include blood splatter in the first act's harrowing car chase. Though hilarious, it was a sign that the filmmaking process can change on a whim, and sometimes for the better. Number 18. Clive Owen's behind the scenes. Behind the scenes, Clive Owen was instrumental in the movie's success. As the film's lead, he played his role perfectly well, and he played former activist Theo Farron with a weariness and melancholy befitting the movie's tone and story. Later, it was revealed that he also served as the uncredited writer on the film after he impressed Cuarón and scriptwriter Timothy J. Sexton. Many people didn't expect Clive to have so much creative input in the film, but he did. His image improved and became more impressive after Cuarón mentioned that he considered him and D.P. Lubezki the film's primary creative voices. For Cuarón to compliment him, Clive sure did his best on the movie. Later, Clive shared some of the things he did and the sacrifices he had to make. According to him, he took great efforts in understanding the delicate dance of balancing the film's shocking events around a restrained and detached character, such as Theo, among other narrative contributions. All these influenced his performance, and he became one of the best while acting. Reports also revealed that his level of creative influence made it easy for him to inhabit his character and understand his motivations. This shows that if he chooses that path, Owen may have a promising career behind the camera. Number 17. Clive Owen gave up Bond for Children of Men.
To you many years ago for Children of Men. Does it ever get old people bringing up that movie? Because it's incredible.
Do you know that one of the sacrifices Clive Owen made was to give up on Bond so he could play the role of Theo Farron? Surprised? Get ready to find out more. When Clive was 42 years old, he was tipped as first in line to take the Bond role for Casino Royale. The movie's makers were keen on having him play the British secret agent, and they approached him. After many negotiations, Clive rejected their offer. He shared that he had moved on before a formal offer could be made. Later, Daniel Craig was chosen for the role. He was to play the role of an agent with a license to kill, and Casino Royale has been a massive hit with nearly $350 million in worldwide ticket sales. When Clive later appeared in Children of Men, it became apparent why he turned down the role. Who cares about playing James Bond when there is a guy like Theo Farron to play? Later, he revealed that he preferred Farron over the other role. However, there were questions from his fans. They wondered why he rejected the opportunity to play a suave, sophisticated ladies' man in a movie franchise specific to producing box office hits for Theo, a drunk, self-doubting bachelor in a movie people were most likely not to watch. Let's hear his response to this. That is the challenge. That is exactly the challenge, Owen told Reuters in a recent interview. When he was also asked about the success Bond made, he regretted choosing Children of Men. Clive was clear about his stand and made everyone realize that he never gave his decision a second thought. He shared that Children of Men has earned solid ticket sales of around $32 million internationally ahead of its US launch. According to him, he decided to take the role of Theo because director Alfonso Cuarón envisioned the near future. However, he considered many other things as well. For instance, playing a character who is the opposite of himself, a good-natured married father of 2 girls. He added that the bleak future in men's life for Londoners in 2027 is not too different from today, except for one crucial factor. Humans face extinction because no children are being born. Alfonso's been clear from the outset that it would be a certain low-tech vision. It's a film set in the future, but it's really an excuse to talk about present concerns, worries, and fears we have now, Owen said. In Children of Men, the audience meets Theo as he walks out of a London cafe only moments before terrorists blow it up. From there, Theo reluctantly helps the only pregnant woman on Earth escape England and reach a haven. In doing so, he can redeem his own sense of self-worth. Later, he became a key player in saving the human race, but at first he was a hard hero to like because of his depression, apathy, and detachment from society. This was precisely what Clive wanted. The worry is that you are the character taking people through the movie, and you don't want people to go, "Why are we going along with this guy?" Owen said. According to claims, Clive is the exact opposite of Theo. He was known to British television and film audiences throughout the 1990s before he finally landed on Hollywood's map in the low-budget independent film Croupier in 1998. Gradually, his fame increased, and he got more roles and opportunities. He was able to feature in a series of increasingly higher-profile films, including the Jerry Bruckheimer-produced King Arthur. This movie made him win a supporting role in the 2004 movie Closer, based on a stage play that Clive previously starred in. That movie put him on the Hollywood A-list, and Owen said that in the past 2 years, he has increasingly been recognized in public. Yet when not working, he largely remains out of celebrity magazines and gossip rags, despite his good looks and erotic symbol status. "My life is divided between work and my family. I don't do anything else," he said. "It's all about the work. When I'm not working, I just hole up with the family." Number 16. Michael Caine based his character on John Lennon. Before John Lennon passed away, he and Michael Caine were good friends. Their first meeting was at the Cannes Film Festival. After their encounters, they became regular acquaintances and drinking buddies. They painted the town red during their frequent trips to the nearest boozer. Michael's loss of his friend was painful. Being one of the most well-connected men in British show business, Kane was naturally familiar with every Beatles and Rolling Stones member. However, he never based one of his performances on Paul, George, Ringo, Mick, Keith, Ronnie, Bill, Charlie, or the other influential rockers. Later, it was rumored that Michael had finally decided to base his character on John Lennon. He got his chance when approached with the Children of Men script. After reading the script, he decided to base his role of eccentric isolationist Jasper Palmer on his vision of what kind of person John Lennon would have evolved into if Mark David Chapman had not gunned him down in December 1980. When John's life was taken, he was only 40 years old, while Kane was in his early 70s when Alfonso Cuarón called for him. With enough time to mourn his friend, Alfonso Cuarón was able to use John Lennon's life as a jumping-off point in the movie. However, he did throw in a couple of creative flourishes that saw Jasper make history twice over in relation to the star's filmography. If invoking the spirit of Lennon wasn't enough, what else made Jasper blaze a new trail for a performer who was already half a century into their career at that point? Obviously, the answer, according to Cuarón, is that it was the first time Kane had ever passed gas or puffed a joint in a motion picture. With an obvious sense of pride, Alfonso told Moviehole, "It is the first time that he farts on screen and the first time that he smokes joints on screen." Apart from baking fresh air biscuits and getting as high as a kite, Kane went all in by sporting long, bedraggled hair and dressing like an aging hippie. He also refused to let go of flower power, essential to his mindset. Cuarón recalled that Kane didn't think he was the man for the job until we were doing makeup, hair, and costume at his house. By the time he saw himself as Jasper for the first time, he was sold. Once he had the clothes and so on and stepped in front of the mirror to look at himself, his body language changed, the director explained. Michael loved it. He believed he was this guy. Number 15. Cuarón nixed any high concept designs to create a more broken-down future. During the movie's making, many science fiction films conceived set designs and technologies that portrayed stunning advancements, but that wasn't what Alfonso was looking for with Children of Men. He wanted something different and unique, something that stood out. When setting the film in 2027, 21 years ahead of when it was made, Cuarón specifically sought a future that would be recognizable and run down, ignored by a world whose future is non-existent without children. Creating this meant a lot of work for the art department team. For starters, they had to let go of their first instincts completely. While in an interview with Brad Brevet, Cuarón describes meeting with the art department and seeing their concept drawings from other science fiction films they had worked on. They were constantly featuring supersonic cars and cool gadgets. Gradually, Cuarón said no to all of these. He rejected this as the film he had in mind was more reminiscent of war-torn and refugee countries like Iraq, Somalia, Sri Lanka, and Northern Ireland. It also portrayed the nuclear disaster site Chernobyl. According to Cuarón, the look he wanted was not imagination but reference, which would make his audience recognize the world immediately when it comes. Number 14. The production team created every single newspaper used in Julianne Moore's introduction scene. You will agree that every scene in the movie was acted with great detail. This is reflected in Julianne Moore's introduction scene as well. At the movie's beginning, Theo is captured by members of the anti-government group, the Fishes, as part of a plan to rendezvous with Julian. Julian is his estranged partner and the leader of the Fishes. The two of them decide to run. In the scene, their meeting occurs in a shed covered from top to bottom in old newspapers. Beyond the fact that people are still getting a printed newspaper in 2027 as portrayed in the movie, another crazy part of the movie is the set design. Cuarón made sure that the production crafted every story on those newspaper pages. In addition, there were claims that someone as detailed and thorough as Alfonso Cuarón would definitely not let the pages be gibberish and not have any meaning to the story. As described in a special feature on the Children of Men DVD, the production crew had to write headlines and stories for each piece of paper used on the set. They based them all on what kind of stories may have happened in the years leading up to the events of Children of Men. This often includes terrorist attacks, refugee crises, and infertility. Number 13. One of the film's long takes happened because no one heard Cuarón say cut. One thing that happened on the set was the constant one-shot scenes. Many critics saw this as the most significant hallmark of the movie. They got things done quickly, which made the production faster. However, many people didn't know that a long take scene happened accidentally. Alfonso Cuarón and Emmanuel Lubezki, especially Alfonso, were meticulous and innovative when capturing the scenes. He paid great attention to every detail. Sometimes these scenes would run for a few minutes. Lubezki would top this with Birdman appearing as one continuous sequence. However, one scene went longer than usual because nobody heard Cuarón say, "Cut." It happened in the last act of the film. In that scene, all hell breaks loose in the refugee camp, and everyone gets an extended one-shot scene following Theo as he tracks down and rescues Key and the baby. When asked in different interviews about the scene, Cuarón shared that they spent about 14 days shooting the scene. However, because of everything going on, it took them 4 to 5 hours to set things up, meaning, at best, they could get 2 shots a day. At worst, Cuarón says they hadn't even rolled cameras 12 days into their allotted time. The scene was finally ready on the afternoon of the 13th day, but the first take only went about a minute before Cuarón called cut. Their first take went perfectly well on the next and final day, but the camera operator tripped. Painfully, that was their last chance to get the shot. Cuarón shared what happened in a Vulture interview. He said, "And when we arrive at the bus, the camera goes in, and blood splatters the lens. With my little monitor, I see that I cannot see anything. I yell, 'Cut!' But an explosion happens simultaneously so nobody hears me, and that gives me time to think, look, I have to roll to the end." So we kept on going. When we said, "Cut," Chivo started dancing like crazy. And I was like, "No, it didn't work, there's blood." And Chivo turns to me and says, "You are stupid. That was a miracle." The rest, they say, is history. The scene turned out to be a great one for the movie, as many people loved and approved of it. It was not as he wanted, but after watching the scene again, Cuarón decided to leave it. Number 12. The film's location was carefully chosen to ensure the movie's success. Alfonso Cuarón paid great attention to the locations of the film. A Clockwork Orange was one of the inspirations for the futuristic yet battered patina of 2027 London. For Cuarón, Children of Men was not the only film he was making in London. It was his second. And with his experience in London, he knew the place was perfect for filming. While he was preparing for the movie, the London bombings happened. However, he was hell-bent on finishing the entire filming in London. He told Variety, "It would have been impossible to shoot anywhere but London, because of the pronounced way the locations were incorporated into the film. For example, the shot of Fleet Street looking towards St. Paul's would have been impossible to shoot anywhere else." However, due to many unfavorable circumstances, the opening terrorist attack scene on Fleet Street was shot a month and a half after the London bombing. After this, he hit some of the scenes in East London, which he considered a place without glamour. The set locations were dressed to make them appear even more run down. In an interview, Cuarón shared that he had told the crew, "Let's make it more Mexican." In other words, he meant that they would look at a location and then say, "Yes, but in Mexico, there would be this and this." It was about making the place look run down. It was about poverty. Apart from these, he also used London's most popular sites. He shot in locations like Trafalgar Square and Battersea Power Station. The power station scene, whose conversion into an art archive refers to the Gate Modern, has been compared to Antonioni's The Red Desert. Later, Cuarón added a pig balloon to the scene as homage to Pink Floyd's Animals. Other artworks in the scene include Michelangelo's David, Picasso's Guernica, and Banksy's Kissing Coppers. The London visual effects companies Double Negative and Framestore worked directly with Cuarón from script to post-production. It developed effects and created environments and shots that wouldn't otherwise be possible. Later, the historic dockyard in Chatham was used to film the scene in the empty activist safe house. Based on early architectural drawings, the Shard Tower was also added to London's skyline, as when the film was made, the skyscraper had not yet been built, but would have been by the time of the film's setting. Number 11. Alfonso Cuarón chose the sound. Another part that led to the success of the movie was the movie's sound. However, many didn't know that Alfonso carefully chose the sound himself. He used a combination of rock, pop, electronic music, hip-hop, and classical music for the film's soundtrack. In the making of the film, sounds of traffic, barking dogs, and advertisements follow the character of Theo through London, East Sussex, and Kent, producing what Los Angeles Times writer Kevin Crust called an urban audio rumble. Crust considered that the music comments indirectly on the barren world of Children of Men. Deep Purple's version of Hush, playing from Jasper's car radio, becomes a sly lullaby for a world without babies, while King Crimson's The Court of the Crimson King makes a similar allusion with their lyrics, "Three lullabies in an ancient tongue." Also amongst a genre-spanning selection of electronic music, a remix of Aphex Twin's Omgija Switch 7, which includes the Male This Loud Scream audio sample by Thanvanaspin, can be heard during an early scene in Jasper's house. Also, during a conversation between the two men, Radiohead's Life in a Glass House plays in the background. Several dubstep tracks, including Anti-War Dub by Digital Mystics and tracks by Code 9 and the Space Ape, Pinch and Pressure, are also featured. For the other scenes, Alfonso carefully chose the sounds. For instance, in the Bexhill scenes, he used silence and cacophonous sound effects like the firing of automatic weapons and loudspeakers directing the movement of the refugees. Classical music by George Friedrich Handel, Gustav Mahler, and Christoph Penderecki, Threnody to the Victims of Hiroshima, complements the chaos of the refugee camp. Also, John Tavener's Fragments of a Prayer is used as a spiritual motif throughout the movie. Number 10. The childbirthing scene was an improvised one-shot. It will surprise you that the childbirthing scene, which looked perfect, was not planned in the movie. It was improvised. A big lesson that all movie makers know is that despite the amount of planning that went into crafting each one-shot scene, sometimes you just have to go with your gut. And this was what Alfonso did in Children of Men. He followed his heart when he decided to make the scene where Key gives birth another one-shot take. In an interview with Collider, Clive Owen shared that it was not until they got to the set to shoot the childbirth scene that Cuarón decided he wanted to do it as one shot. He describes the decision as part of Cuarón's effort to viscerally put the audience into the action by doing as much in real time as possible and avoiding potentially manipulative cuts. Another big question has always been, where did the Children of Men baby come from? Let's get to that. According to reports, the baby was a combination of an animatronic doll and CGI technology. Also, on the Children of Men DVD, a special feature details the creation of the baby as the one shot plays out. After Key is laid on the mat and Theo takes their guide to the door, crew members put Claire Hope Ashiti in a special rig that would allow them to simulate childbirth. Also, the animatronic baby came out for the actors to hold when the moment came. Then the special effects team used CGI tracking on the doll to provide realistic movement. Number 9. The Children of Men is based on religion. Do you know that the film was based on religion? Many people do not know this, but it's the truth. Richard Blake, writing for Catholic magazine America, suggested that, like Virgil's Aeneid, Dante's The Divine Comedy, and Chaucer's The Canterbury Tales, the crux of the journey in Children of Men lies in what is uncovered along the path rather than the terminus itself. Also, according to Cuarón, the title of P.D. James's book, The Children of Men, is an allegory derived from a passage of scripture in the Bible. He shared that it was gotten from the book of Psalms 90 verse 3 of the King James Version, "Thou turnest man to destruction, and sayest, Return, ye children of men." Later, James referred to her story as a Christian fable, while Cuarón, on the other hand, described it as almost like a look at Christianity. In an interview with Filmmaker magazine, Cuarón said, "I didn't want to shy away from the spiritual archetypes, but I wasn't interested in dealing with dogma." Number 8. Children of Men was loved by many. One jabbing thought in the mind of every filmmaker is the success of their movies. The same thing happened with Children of Men. However, while Alfonso considered whether the movie would be a great success, it turned out to be one of the best movies in history. After its release, the film received critical acclaim on the review aggregator website Rotten Tomatoes. It received a 92% approval rating based on 252 reviews from critics, with an average rating of 8.10 out of 10. The site's critical consensus states, "Children of Men works on every level, As a violent chase thriller, a fantastical cautionary tale, and a sophisticated human drama about society's struggling to live on Metacritic, the film scored 84 out of 100 based on 38 reviews indicating universal acclaim. Audiences polled by CinemaScore gave the film an average B- grade on an A to F scale. Number 7. Robert Ebert and Dana Stevens talked about the movie. Do you know that the popular Robert Ebert and Dana Stevens talked about the film? Let's hear what they have to say. According to Robert Ebert of the Chicago Sun-Times, the film deserved 4 stars. He wrote, "Cuarón fulfills the promise of futuristic fiction. Characters do not wear strange costumes or visit the moon, and the cities are not plastic hallucinations, but look just like today, except tired and shabby. Here is a world ending not with a bang but a whimper, and the film serves as a cautionary warning." Later, Dana Stevens of Slate called it the herald of another blessed event, the arrival of a great director named Alfonso Cuarón. He also hailed the film's extended car chase and battle scenes as 2 of the most virtuoso single-shot chase sequences I've ever seen. Also, Manola Dargis of the New York Times called the movie a superbly directed political thriller, raining accolades on the lengthy chase scenes. "Easily one of the best films of the year," said Ethan Alter of Film Journal International, with scenes that dazzle you with their technical complexity and visual virtuosity. On to the next. Number 6. Banksy almost provided artwork for the children of men. Do you know that the famous artist Banksy almost provided artwork for children of men? However, things didn't later turn out as planned. He was meant to create special artwork which would be scattered throughout the film, but something entirely different happened. In an interview with Vulture, Cuarón shared that he was a fan of Banksy while he was still just coming onto the scene in East London. He said he managed to get in touch with his manager, and they met for coffee, though it turned out to be an odd ideological interview. That day, the manager sat behind him and asked questions about the brand because of Banksy's reputation as an unpredictable artist. Ultimately, Banksy did not sign on to the project, though he did allow one of his existing murals to be used in the background of a scene. Fittingly enough, this mural is a preserved piece in the Ministry of Art that Theo visits in the film. Number 5. Clive Owen, Baby Guardian? Years after the movie's release, there were many reports that many people went back to watch Children of Men because of Clive Owen. In one of the scenes, Clive was seen protecting a newborn baby, which surprised many. Also that same year, he did the same thing in another movie titled Shoot 'Em Up, and people just couldn't stop talking about those roles. It was different to see Clive acting as a hero with guns. But a baby guardian? No one saw that coming. Number 4. Picasso's Guernica and Infertile Dystopias. The movie sure made a mark in history. However, one interesting part is Pablo Picasso's somber depiction of the horrors experienced by the Basque community after General Francisco Franco's forces forced the eponymous town alongside fascist Italian and Nazi forces. The painting, according to many, created a greater sense of global awareness on the atrocities that the Basque community was forced to endure under the fascist rule in 1930s Spain. This was also considered to be one of Picasso's most striking pieces. Its anti-war sentiments and depiction of crushing oppression are essential in the movie, as many people had imagined the painting symbolizing Key's struggle to survive in a fascist Britain. Number 3. Children of Men was a huge box office success. Children of Men was not only famous, it also became a huge box office success. On September 3, 2006, the film had its world premiere at the 63rd Venice International Film Festival. Later, on September 22, 2006, the film debuted at number 1 in the United Kingdom, with $2.4 million in 368 screens. Also, it debuted in a limited release of 16 theaters in the United States that same day, expanding to more than 1,200 theaters on January 5, 2007. As of February 6, 2008, Children of Men had grossed $69,612,678 worldwide, with $35,550,383 million of the revenue generated in the United States. Number 2. P.D. James's Strange Comment. It is not normal in the movie industry for authors to talk boldly about their own work, especially if they played no part in the production. But P.D. James did just that. After the movie adaptation, she boldly shared on camera, "It's obvious that this film departed from the book, but I'm so proud to be associated with this film." How strange. Number 1. The story behind the inflatable pig. When Theo visits his cousin Nigel at the Battersea Power Station to help secure Key's travel documents, an inflatable pig can be seen in the background as the two talk. There is a story behind this. According to research, the pig was an overt reference to Pink Floyd's 1977 album, Animals, which George Orwell's Animal Farm. This story had similar political undertones to Children of Men, specifically focusing on a class struggle between the working class and the wealthy. Its inclusion in the scene is appropriate, as Nigel's home is the only luxurious setting seen in the film, and the pig's symbolism served as a fitting contrast to the absolute collapse surrounding this setting. What do you think about the Children of Men after watching this? Which of the weird facts do you love the most? Leave your thoughts in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, like, share, and subscribe to this channel. Before you go, watch the other videos displayed on your screen.